everyone, welcome back to Band of Brothers podcast. I'm Elton, and as always, I am joined by Andy.
Hello.
How are you, mate? You alright?
I'm alright. It's been so long since we did one of these, you forgot what my name was, didn't you?
I nearly did. I kind of know how you are already. We've already done that stuff in the green room.
We've had a chat, and all you losers missed out on it, so
yeah.
Oh well.
That's right, yeah.
Short version, I'm good.
Good stuff. Just for people coming in new on this, why would you be coming in on episode 9? But, people just dip in and dip out. But just in case you don't know, we're not military experts. We haven't been in the military. I've been in the ATC for a couple of years, but that's round about it. So,
hey, me too. There you go.
What, a couple of years, was it?
3.5, 4?
Yeah. Oh, good stuff.
A while.
Yeah. So we're not experts at all. So if we ball stuff up, if we get stuff wrong, if we swear or anything like that, then tough, because that's what we do around here. We don't mean to get stuff wrong, but sometimes we do. So no complaints there.
We should point out we will swear.
We will swear.
It's going to happen.
Is this the program rate? Is it 15 or an 18?
If this episode wasn't an 18, it probably should have been.
It should be, yeah, really, yeah. Okay, so
can I also just add an additional disclaimer here?
Yeah.
This particular episode is dealing with some heavy stuff.
Yes.
Now, we are going to treat this with the reverence and respect it deserves, but we might need to take a couple of breaks in between. as we mentioned, there's some heavy stuff in this episode. So just bear that in mind. If people watching along with us or getting to this one, it is vitally important you do watch this episode. But, maybe pace yourself. Don't watch it after a hard day where things haven't been going right. Maybe do it on a nice sunny summer's day where afterwards you can go for a walk afterwards. Because I think you might need to.
Yeah, well, a nice crisp autumn day as well. And
then
yes. You can disappear off to the pub after.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, too right. With that being said, we will treat it, not tread on eggshells around this sort of subject, because it's dark, it's heavy. We know there's a lot of gravitas with this. But just in case we try to lighten the mood a little bit, shall we say, just in case that falls in there, it's not meant as a derogatory term towards what happened. We have total and utmost respect for what's happened on this. It's our feelings may come up and then want to throw cartoons in our minds and just cleanse it a little bit. So just a warning, just in case one of us slips up and says something a bit stupid. We probably won't. Now,
I think of all of the episodes, this is probably the one where we're not going to do the stupid stuff. But we just felt it's important, just in case.
Yes.
So yeah. Although at this point, there's only one episode left to do afterwards. So if you're going to turn off in disgust at this point, we're not losing too much, I suppose.
No, not really. No. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. It's been a slice.
Wow. Okay. So Why We Fight, episode 9 of Band of Brothers.
Of 10 episodes.
Yeah, we got next week. We find out next week who the talking heads are, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh, yes.
We don't know who they are this time round. I'm hedging bets, but there were some new faces on here. I felt
there was either new faces or people we've only maybe seen once or twice before and have, as a result, not really registered.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely... watching through on these, you're like going, I don't remember you, or I've not heard from you before. So yeah.
And you were saying just before we started recording that it has a feeling of terms nearly over, school's nearly out on this, because we're getting to the end of the war, really, aren't we?
No, we're both at the end of a series and at the end of a war. I think this episode is set April 1945.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those. It's just there's a sense of inevitability. The war's coming to an end. They know they've won at this point, and I mean, they even say, no one's. It war's no longer about fighting. It's about who's getting what, be it individuals, what are they going to get, or be it countries, and carving up the map of Europe and everything. Already at this time in the war, little history lesson here, but already you had distrust from the US and the UK against the Soviets and everything like that. And yeah, it's just one of those sort of like you said, it's like it's almost at the end of school. You're going to leave your year, move on to another school or another year sort of thing. There's no more work to be done. There's not really any more fighting to be done. It's just killing time, effectively.
Yeah. It's Hitler killed himself on the 30th of April, 1945, and most of this episode is set 1 month before that.
Yes, because it kind of does a flashbacky sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo.
Yeah, diddle-a-doo. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of overall feel of the episode, that is kind of where that comes from. Are we done talking about Talking Heads?
Well, they did bring up one or two interesting points that they were all just kids. It was a time, I suppose, where the fighting has died down a little bit. They get to reflect on they're just kids and they're just fighting other kids as well. And in another life, they would be or could be friends. Oh yeah.
And I mean, there's numerous examples actually of people after the war who have sought out people they fought against and become firm friends. Anyone who's familiar with, one of my many obsessions is the battlecruiser HMS Hood. And I know, and I've interviewed numerous sailors who served in Hood who are now friends with sailors who were under Bismarck.
Oh, okay.
And for those who don't realize, Bismarck is the ship which sank the Hood. Equally so, I've seen and I've met on a couple of occasions bomber pilots like B-17 and Lancaster pilots who are now friends with ME-109 pilots and stuff like that. In fact, recently you watched the Battle of Britain, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And again, prominent aces like Adolf Gallant on the German side became really good friends with Douglas Bader on the British side. So yeah, young men around the world tend to have lots of things in common. Their minds are mostly on one thing: girls.
Yeah.
So instant common ground right there.
Well, the fairer sex is the most beautiful thing in the world anyway, isn't it? Come on.
The other thing, again, to just bear in mind about why they have this connection is that they have a shared experience.
Yes.
It might be from the other side of the trench, as it were, but
a certain
they were
point
there.
Of view.
Exactly. Oh, yes. You're going to come to understand that a lot of these shows depend on your point of view, Elton. Okay, we may be skipping ahead a little bit to the next one, but one of the things, there's a speech in the next episode, and you don't really see much of it. You see a German officer addressing German troops at the end of a war. And I've always wanted to see that film or that show, the German perspective of this time as well. Not from any adoration or, just wanting to see the German side of it. It's just, I want to see it from that point of view as well. I thought that'd be interesting.
Well, that's what was interesting about Das Boot, I felt.
Oh, yeah. Which, if you haven't watched that, people should go and watch that because it's amazing.
It is. It really is, because I'd heard about it but hadn't really dived into it. And then I was kind of forced on the Black Dog podcast. And my God, I was so glad that I was forced.
Yeah.
So glad. I think it's amazing. Absolutely
it's
superb.
So it is the definitive submarine film. I'm sorry, Sean Connery and Red October. Yes. But Das Boot is the best one.
Yeah. You mentioned the German at the end of the next episode.
Yeah.
Now, I looked at this. He is the guy in the photo on this episode.
Oh, is he?
Yes, he is.
I never made that connection before. Thank you for that.
Hey, there you go. Because I saw the photo and I thought there must be another connection somewhere. That I thought we might see him, when you see the 300,000 German soldiers walking in the opposite direction.
Yeah, I was wondering, was he the one in the car that
no,
what's his name was hurling abuse at? Okay.
No, he's not, but he is in the next episode. So, there's a little cast forward, shall we say.
Yes, but let us drag ourselves back to the here and now.
Yeah.
And it starts, one of my favourite openings of any episode of Band of Brothers is the quartet playing some Beethoven.
Oh, yes.
It's firstly, beautiful music. I'm not actually sure what piece they're playing. Let me see if I can look it up very quickly. No, it just says playing a somber piece of Beethoven. But it's just beautiful, and you just see people, and this could easily have been London during the Blitz, or anything like that. It's just ordinary people digging through the rubble. Some woman's clutching just an old picture frame. That's all she's got. People are stacking bricks, which are still usable, so they can.
That's what got me. Stacking square bricks or stacking undamaged bricks. It was just, okay, I get why you're doing that, and I love the way that they're sorting them. Yeah.
You've got that. You've got, furniture being loaded onto carts and people moving away, and, they're leaving homes and, the only places they've ever known. And the thing that kind of struck me at this point was these people aren't Nazis. These people aren't soldiers. And I think we can all certainly attest that in a current climate, a lot of us have had like governments and decisions forced on us that we didn't necessarily vote for.
Yes.
So I kind of sympathized with these people at this moment in time. It was like, wow, that sucks for them, because again, they're in effect innocents. And don't get me wrong, they probably cheered when things were going well, and they thought, yeah, Germany was up and rising. If it didn't directly affect them, it probably wasn't an issue.
Well, they probably had that thought of, okay, well, didn't vote for it, but can't do much about it now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like in that predicament at the moment.
Yep, a little bit.
And I'm sure there's millions of other that feel that way as well. 52%. Oh no, 48%, wouldn't it? Yeah. But yeah, it just feels, the problem they have is that they've been tarred with the same brush.
Oh, evidently. And yeah, you definitely, I mean, at this point of the episode, and again, it's been a while since I've watched this, but you certainly feel at this point of the episode, like Easy Company are understanding that not all Germans, not all Krauts are Nazis. There's almost a sense of not respect and not pity, maybe understanding.
Yeah.
There's a kind of a connection there. And I found the name of the music. It was String Quartet in C Sharp, Op 131.
Okay, I'll be downloading that on iTunes later on.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's a beautiful piece of music.
Just how Beethoven wanted it.
Absolutely. Is how he meant for it to be played.
In MP3 with all the tops and bottoms removed from there for a smaller package to download easier.
Yes. But yes, it is a beautiful piece of music, and it really sets the tone for not only that scene, but the entire episode. In fact, the music does weave in and out of the score throughout, which I thought was really nice. And yeah, it's just a very kind of, it's certainly not the most moving or powerful bit in this episode, but it is a very moving and powerful scene in and of itself. That opening.
I totally agree. I love the way it's one of them flashback episodes where you don't have too much of either one or the other. It's okay, we're having a flashback. This was 1 month prior to this, but we've only had 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes worth of build up on that.
Yeah.
It's just so well done.
And it doesn't jump back and forth. It's just like you have this bit at the beginning, then we cut back the month, and then at the end we just come back to finger quotes the present time.
Yeah.
And it just kind of establishes what that is. But yeah, it's just something very, very humanizing, I suppose, about the Germans, because this is also the first time in the show that we've seen ordinary Germans. We've seen the French, we've seen the Dutch and everything like that, but I don't think we've really seen the Germans up until this point. And they're not the monsters. They're not, the Nazis or anything like that. They're not the master race. They're just people. And it could be anywhere. This could be, it literally is the same set they used in the Bastones one, the church.
Oh,
you can actually see the church in part of it, so it's exactly the same set.
Right.
But again, it's just it is just a universal truth to suffering, basically.
Didn't even notice that, but I suppose make do want do. You know,
Absolutely,
sometimes
yeah.
you just have to do that sort of thing. You shoot it from a slightly different angle, then it looks completely different, doesn't it? TV trickery.
TV magic. We're just pulling back the curtain. I mean, don't quote me on this, but I suspect a lot of these sets was left over from Saving Private Ryan, because I think they filmed on the same airfield. So this again, a lot of these sets and stuff like it's like in Back to the Future, the Hill Valley set's been in God knows how many films and everything. It was a set before it was Hill Valley in that. So
yeah. You kind of have to know that history to actually notice it, and once you do, you can't really unsee it, can you?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're kind of introduced to Nixon here, because nominally we are following him in this episode.
Yeah.
Although I think we both are of agreement that kind of doesn't follow him.
Well, it does when it needs to. I feel it's based around him and his exploits.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk very, very briefly about Nixon for a second, because he's always been a bit of this strange element in the series, because he's not actually in Easy Company, is he?
He's higher up, isn't he?
Well, he was higher up, certainly. He went to battalion in the first episode, almost straight out of QAhe.
Mm-hmm.
So he's never actually been in Easy Company. We've only really known of him through his friendship with Winters. So it's almost been like our elder brother's friend than our friend, if that makes sense.
Can I ask then,
Okay.
where he ranks, does Winters doesn't report to him though, does he? Winters reports to
Sink. Colonel Sink.
Yeah.
Colonel Sink, yeah. I think at the beginning, because Nixon, I believe, made lieutenant and captain before Winters did. But then Winters became a major, whereas Nixon never went past that.
Yeah.
And yeah, he might have reported to Nixon, or at least, had to deal with Nixon in a capacity at the start. But then as soon as he moved up to battalion and then division, they were at least on level pegging, or Winters outranked him.
Right, okay. Kind of outranks, but on the side type thing. It's all very confusing if you don't know ranks.
a little bit. It's, to put it simply, Nixon was not in Winters' direct chain of command.
Yeah. So
he might have been his senior officer or superior officer, but Winters didn't have to report to him.
Okay. That's cleared up a few things, because it's always... I like their buddy thing that they have going throughout the whole thing, because we've seen him in Currahee, we've seen him in Bastogne, where they're freezing their nuts off, and now we see him here again.
Well, I mean, we saw in that episode where he's still hiding his whiskey in Winters' footlocker.
Yeah, which leads us on, I suppose, because he's still got a drinking problem, this guy.
Well, possible spoiler alerts, but I think that stayed with him for the rest of his life.
Really?
I think so. I know we find out in the next episode the fates of all these people, but I know he passed away in the mid-90s. And I think it might have been related to alcohol.
Right.
I'm not sure. We will check that. In fact, I'm looking at it now.
Surprise me anyway.
It was complications from diabetes, but yeah, it was definitely something that certainly played out throughout the war. And again, kind of thinking ahead to the next one, I think they do mention that he had to fight it for the rest of his life.
Right. Yeah. Well, I see, never been in battle, but it wouldn't surprise me certain people, and most people, pick up certain vices along the way. We saw Lipton take up smoking a couple of episodes ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just something to keep your nerves down, whittle away the time as well. Numb it.
Yes.
That
is effectively what it does. And, again, you build up an intolerance to it, or a tolerance to it, and you need more to numb it to get the same level. So, yeah.
Yeah. So he spends most of this episode just on the hunt, really, doesn't he?
This is definitely an episode of two halves. Does the first half maybe even the first 2/3.
Mm.
There's basically everything up until they find the concentration camp.
Yeah.
And then everything after that. And in the first half, he's not so much on the hunt, but he is definitely, he's hurting.
Yeah.
Whether he's hurting for a drink or hurting from the war or whatever else, but he is in pain. He's depressed. He's certainly not the cheery kind of happy-go-lucky guy he's been presenting himself as throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like he's lost that confidence that he's had.
He's lost direction as well. And I feel that because in this episode he's parachuted back in as well, hasn't he? So he's made, I think it's mentioned, he's made 3 combat jumps.
Well, yeah. So when we do our first flashback, well, the flashback, if you will, to about a month earlier, he's driving through the town in a Jeep with his jump harness on, and everyone's like, where's he been? What's he been jumping for? Why has he done that? And it turns out he went over to, was it the 17th Airborne?
Yeah.
And he made a combat jump with them. And the plane he was on was destroyed as he jumped, effectively. So everyone was killed, taking out, including the CO. It transpires that the reason he was, well, it's not explicitly said, but I think the reason he was doing this was he wanted to kill Nazis. He wanted to kill someone. It reminds me of Memphis Belle.
Yep.
You know, the guy who wants, he's gone through the entire war and hasn't actually killed anyone. Well, Nixon's been through the entire war in the thick of the action, but because of his role at division and everything, he's had no reason to fire his weapon. And I think he was worried about what happens when he gets back home, and he's going to be compared to Easy Company and to Winters and everything. And they're all like, so how many Germans did you kill? And he'd have to say, no, none.
Yeah.
And that's, again, there's nothing wrong with that. He's been doing important work, but there's that whole mentality of, you're only as good as your scorecard, all that sort of shit. So I think that he either did that jump for one or two reasons, that reason, or he literally has a death wish and was trying to get killed. But I don't get the death wish vibe from it.
I hadn't noticed that he hadn't fired his weapon. It's because he's still been in the thick of it. He still had trees exploding around him, didn't he?
Exactly, but he's not on the front line. He's not facing the enemy in that sense. He is, he was an intelligence officer, wasn't he? So it was much more kind of a logistics and that sort of stuff.
Right. Okay. So yeah, he's still battling his demons. Mm-hmm. He's having to write letters as well because this plane that he's been on, where it's destroyed, I think 2 people. He said 2 people got out.
2 people before him got out.
Yeah.
And then it was taken out. But the CO was also killed. And so for whatever reason, it's fallen to him to write these letters. I'm not entirely sure why he would be doing that, because I would have thought there'd be, either the XO of the company or the platoon sergeant or there were other people I would have thought would be doing that before him. That might just have been there for dramatic effect, though, perhaps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have. There's other people in the company who, the division of the company who would do that before it got to him, because it sounds like he just kind of turned up to do it,
And that's a strange thing to do, though. Well, no, is it a strange thing to do? I don't know. Like you said, he hasn't fired his weapon, but it's not as if he hasn't been in the thick of things. So, there's no disgrace in that. It's just a case of circumstance, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, he was ordered to go and do the jump, but it certainly presented like he chose to do it.
Yeah.
The way Winters is talking to him about it and everything. And we also hear from Winters, who kind of has a word with him about his drinking. He's been demoted. Nixon has been removed from battalion down to division.
Yes. Yeah, Sink demoted him, didn't he?
Yeah. And, he doesn't particularly seem to care. I don't think he was terribly happy doing it for whatever reason.
Well, I think when Winters told him, he just brushed it off. It's not important to him, is it?
Well, it's, again, he's just witnessed all these people, killed.
There's bigger shit going on in the world.
Exactly. It's one of those ones where, your internal barometer over what is what is a big deal shifts somewhat. And I also think, again, like his head's somewhere else. And I just get the impression, it's certainly kind of presented in this episode, but he wasn't happy. So
he hasn't looked happy for a long, long time anyway.
Yeah.
People have been reporting through him. He's had information going through him and back and relaying information and passing it forward. And it doesn't, once again, it doesn't feel like he's been in the thick of it. He has been in the thick of it per se with like a paper trail, but apart from that, don't know. Just I suppose he's a soldier. He wants to fight. That's a real dumb thing to say, I suppose. But I
don't think it's a want to fight though. But I think he, probably at this point is, he's looking at himself. He knows he's got a drinking problem. I mean, that's largely why he was demoted, I'm suspecting.
Yeah.
But what is his yardstick? What does he measure himself against? And it's going to have to be Winters. And, that is forgive the euphemism, that's a pretty big large yardstick right there.
He's the man though, isn't he? He really is.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, hell, it's one of those ones where if he wasn't a real person, we'd probably be calling bullshit on the character, saying he's just a Mary Sue sort of thing. He's just too good.
Yeah. You can't write a character like that.
No. You shouldn't write a character like that.
No, it's just too cliche, really, is it? It just wouldn't work. But now it's real life, then you kind of sit back and go, okay, fine, show it to me. Let's have it.
So I suspect, it's probably some feelings of, not necessarily inadequacy, but, when he's holding himself up against Winters, he's finding himself lacking in some respect.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he'd have the same problem with Sobel.
No. No. Yeah, okay, all right. I'll leave that there.
We'll leave that juicy dangler right there.
There was one notable bit I wanted to pick your brains on. There's a bit where Nixon is doing the morning news type thing in front of the guys.
What he calls it, a cultural pop culture thing or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and because we get to see familiar faces. We've seen Tom Hardy already in this episode, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
I was going to say that this is his first ever acting role.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I thought he did a grand job. His bottom did a grand job as well.
Yeah, I'm glad he was up to the task. Boom.
And
although I do expect him to keep talking like Bane for all of his lines, and he didn't, and I was disappointed.
Yeah, you kind of want it, don't you? Just for shits and giggles. But yeah, he was doing all the wartime news, etc. And there was a bit where they said that the Krauts were dropping back and they'd forgot to blow up one of the bridges, and our front, or the Allied forces front line, was able to progress. Mm-hmm. It reminded me of that scene in Saving Private Ryan. Do you remember at the very end?
Oh yes, when he's standing shooting with his pistol at the tank.
They have the bridge, don't they?
They do.
Now, I'm not saying it is the same bridge, but it's a nice little nod back to that, intentional or not. And I'm guessing if it's there, then it's going to be intentional.
I hate to burst that particular bubble, but for two reasons. I can tell you why that's not the case.
Totally different places.
Well, firstly, yeah, totally. That was in France. This is in Germany.
Nuts.
That was right after D-Day. This is about a year or 2 years later. Not 2. No, it's a year, isn't it? Yeah, it's all just under a year later. And also, Saving Private Ryan is fictional.
Yeah, I know, but it's just.
You want to believe, though. You want to believe.
It's not that. I knew that Saving Private Ryan was fictional, but it's a nod back to that sort of thing that happened in Saving Private Ryan.
I see where you're coming from. You're wrong, but I do see where.
That's fine. If I can't be right, then fuck it. I'll be wrong.
Well, yes, by actual definition.
Yes, I have no choice but to be wrong.
Yes, that's how it works.
Yeah, okay. Back to Nixon again then. Yeah, breaking windows and looting places, really. I think before we started recording, you said that the first half of this episode doesn't really paint the Allied forces in a great light, does it?
Oh, it really doesn't. And I mean, it's just, what's his name? Judge Dredd. Can't remember his name all of a sudden. Spears. You see, Spears bursts in on Tom Hardy, give him the local strumpet going over.
Yep.
And he's like, "Where's my stuff?" And the kid's like, I put it over there. And he just turns around and just grabs this tea tray full of silver, candles and mirrors and tea trays and all that, and just walks out.
That's clearly not his first tea tray as well.
It's clearly not. And he clearly has no fucks left to give. And he's just like, yeah, it's my stuff now. Finders keepers. 5
years in the cube, isn't it? Surely.
Oh, that's a trip to Titan right there. And yeah, he just kind of grabs it and goes to the post office, and you got one of those shady kind of postmasters there who slip him a couple of packs of fags and he'll sort you out.
Whose face I recognise, but I can't put a name to him. So apologies for that, but I've seen him in other episodes.
Yeah, I know. He's just. I think it's again just one of the background characters. Yeah, he's an other background character. You also have is it Lutz, and who's the guy with him?
Piconte.
Yeah. Stealing eggs, and that's fair enough. But then it gets very rapey all of a sudden.
Yeah.
When he's like, go, oh, Fraulein, and he's like, you don't like chocolate, fine. How about cigarettes and all this? And he's like, why don't you just go away, leave me alone. No. So, and it's just like, that's very uncomfortable to watch, and it's played off for laughs afterwards when he comes running out with I just got slapped and stuff like that. But that could have easily gone a different way. I dare say it did go a different way in some instances. And yeah, that's again, like I said, this does not paint these guys in the most favorable of lights. And while I like that because it shows they are kind of human, at the same time, I don't like it because I like these guys. I don't want to think of them doing stuff like that.
I'm not defending. I'm just trying to cast a nicer. It's really fucking hard in today's climate. It really is. Right? Do I do this or not? Yeah. Look.
Firstly, you're committed, so you kind of have to. But secondly, with the wonders of editing, you can always cut it out later.
I can, yeah. But he's taken a slap to the face for trying to get jiggy with this lady. Now, Piconte, I can never pronounce his name, but anyway, he hasn't got 10 steps out the door before Luz comes running out. So he's taken oh, look, would you like to? And she's gone, oh, no, thank you, slap. And he's gone. So it's a case of he's made advances, he's been told no, and he's gone, okay, fine, no. Then he's disappeared. Yeah.
I get what you're saying there. It doesn't change the fact that, okay, they were stealing the eggs. That in of itself is bad, but you know what? We're going to give that a pass because time of war, occupying force, need food. Possibly didn't know anyone was still living there.
Chicken rustling, fine.
Fine. In the grand scheme of things, egg rustling, that's pretty low on the pecking order. But when she turns up, she's obviously terrified, right? There's no doubts about that, and she runs off. Because you've got to understand, she's been subject to German propaganda for how long?
Yeah.
The last 5 years about how evil the Americans and the Allies and all that sort of thing are.
Yeah.
And then he's come running after her. Now, at first, it's like, oh, I'm trying to apologize. But then he's clearly not. He kind of pulls out the chocolate. She does not interest. She just wants him to go. It is clear she wants him to go. But no, fine, you don't like chocolate? Here. Throws the chocolate away, pulls something else out. And then when his friend shows up, he turns around to him and says, go away.
Okay,
go away.
Right, yeah.
There's no two ways about it.
No, I'll back down on that. Totally back down, yeah.
Okay. And yeah, he comes jogging out with you going, oh, she slapped. One of two things didn't happen there. that encounter didn't happen there like that,
Yeah.
or he didn't come out of there with just a slap.
Yeah. Okay, fair play.
There's just, again, I'm not casting aspersions of these guys. I'm merely talking about it from what's presented in the episode. But like I said, this comes back to what I said before. This is really painting these guys in a very unfavourable light at this point.
All I'm trying to get across is nowadays in cinema or anything like that, if something like this is hinted at, then it's naturally assumed that the worst happened.
All I'm saying with that is it doesn't paint these guys in a particularly favourable light.
Yeah.
Taking away, looking at things through our modern day filter. And, I mean, it's like Blade Runner. It took me a long time to realise just how wrong and uncomfortable that scene with Harrison Ford and Sean Young makes me. But once I realised it, I was horrified. But it took a while for me to understand that. This time watching this, I've never picked up on that before watching Band of Brothers. I've never looked at that scene and thought, that's kind of really bad, that's uncomfortable. But this time I was just like, that's fucked up.
So why this time round then? Is it because you're more mature than last time you watched it? Or is it today's climate, or the world has changed, or what?
I honestly couldn't tell you. I'm loath to use the dreaded term woke, because I don't like that term. Or at least I don't like the division it gets to it. But yeah, I think myself, and I think just people as a whole are generally more socially aware.
Yeah.
Or at least they're trying to be more socially aware. And again, it's just one of those things of, you're looking at it now, and maybe it is a case of now always assuming the worst, as you were saying, but it's just, there's no other way I can look at that scene now without thinking that was wrong. And all I can do is try and make excuses for why he was doing it if I want to continue to like the character or the person or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's kind of what I'm getting at there, I suppose.
So, Luz, tainted.
Was it Luz or Bacante? I can never remember which one it was coming out. They're bloody interchangeable at this point.
No, it was Luz. It was definitely Luz.
It was
Luz
Luz.
is the one
Yeah.
that got the slap round the face.
It was definitely a bit painted. And again, he, the bit with the replacement, O'Keefe, as well.
Yep.
I mean, okay, they've been giving replacements grief since episode 3.
They have, yeah.
Yeah, but this one was really kind of like maybe taking it a bit far. And I understand he's tired. He wants to go home. He's not been home in over 2 years. And, there's the whole, they don't want to get too close to these guys. But the abuse he was giving him when he was literally just doing his, he's there trying to do his job, manning the gun, and he just wants to sit there and read his book. And he basically lays into him and says, all your hopes and dreams are wrong. I've lost good people because of people like you have come in and fucked it all up and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, the guy was just trying to do his job. It's a bit harsh.
I think it's more the tone that he was trying to do his job with, because he was saying that I just want to jump into Berlin and take Hitler. He wants to be a hero. Whereas these veterans, they've done the legwork before that. And if anyone deserves to do that, it's the D-Day guys that deserve to do that.
Oh, no doubt whatsoever. And like he says, this is the best bit of war he's had, because he's got hot food, warm bed, a roof over his house, and the trees aren't exploding. And I totally get that, and he's totally right. And again, I can't fault him for having that thing. I'm just saying, again, as the viewer watching this, he comes across as a bit of a dick.
Yeah. I feel sorry for O'Keefe. One, because he's a replacement, and he's obviously replaced one of the veterans, or maybe another replacement that got screwed over as well. I don't know, but he has no respect from the other guys, because they're in that phase of war where you're not going to see a lot of action. That the action is going to be petering down, really, isn't it? And so he's not going to get that action to warrant his peers respecting him. And so with that, he gets his name confused as well. And you're just another O'Brien, O'Keefe. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
pretty much.
So yeah, they were just on a watch as well, and I loved the way that there was a bit of artillery. I'm going to sit here, read a book, sod it. It's brilliant. Yeah, they're good.
And any sex in it? It's not that kind of book.
I didn't even see what book it was. I'm sure it was on display, but I didn't even get to see.
It was called, I think, a Tree Grows in Manhattan.
Ah, yes, it was called.
Something like that.
Yeah, never read it. Never going to read it either.
No, but apparently there's no sex in it.
No, well,
because it's not that kind of book.
No, not going to be reading that now, am I? Okay. Another little build up, because I feel that we should leave the camp until later on.
Yeah. It's
because that's the big moment in this episode, isn't it? So
it's the big talking point.
Yeah. Just try to go through what else have we seen. We've seen okay, well, the guys have to move out, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're being told they have to move out. Well, okay, before we get there, we get some more stuff with Nixon. He's playing cards with Spears and some of the other officers.
Yep.
Was it Lipton there as well?
Right. We had Lipton, Spears, Nixon, and Welsh.
Okay.
Playing cards.
Yeah. Which again, it just struck me as I know they're equal, they're all officers, but it just reminded me back in the early episode with what's his name, Buck, being told he shouldn't play cards, you never take from them.
Yes.
And I know this is a different thing, but it's just they're much more relaxed. It's like, whatever, fuck it, just playing cards. And yeah, Nixon's out of his VAT 69, so goes off in search of some. That's when he kind of drunkenly breaks open a window of a I'm assuming liquor store or something like that.
I'm assuming. I didn't really get a good look on it, but it ain't going to be a sweet shop, is it?
Yeah, but there's no VAT 69. And then he kind of walks out just as the MPs are arriving, salutes them, and they salute him, having not seen him just come out of it. And just try, it's just like...
It is a free-for-all, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is a bit.
Yeah, well, we see that later on as well, when they are on the move and they crash at someone's house and they just kick them out of their house.
Oh, yeah. Very unceremoniously, it's just like, oh, fuck off. In middle of dinner as well, kids there. And again, they're all saying, I'm not a Nazi. And he's going, oh, well, I've been in Germany for however long now. I've not met a single Nazi.
Yeah. Strange, that, isn't it? Very
well, yeah.
strange.
I mean, funny. I mean, look, no one's going to admit to it at this point, but again, they don't appear to be Nazis.
Yeah. Yeah. We do get a bit of news from Spears, though, that they're not because we've seen other people nicking stuff. Everyone's on the pilfer around here, and Spears comes along and tells them that they're not going to be dropping into Berlin. Hitler's held up in in the Alps, one of the mountains, the Eagle's Nest, I think it was called, wasn't it? And
they might have said it was. He wasn't. He was in his bunker, but
yeah, he was in his bunker at that time. But the idea was that he was going to be moving back to the Eagle's Nest and then hold up in the Alps.
Yeah.
So that was their next target. That's where Easy Company are heading towards. And so, there's not going to be someone grabbing hold of Hitler and being the hero of the whole war. And while he's doing that, Conte has got a lighter. He's lighting his cigarette that he wanted. And all of a sudden, just pops it in his pocket or keeps hold of it and goes to walk off with it. He's like, oh, hang on a minute. That's my loot. And you can see him umming and ahhing. I want it, but it's his. But I want it, but it's his. Okay, nice liar.
Yeah, again, like I said, it's really not painting these guys in the best of lights.
No. They're willing to screw each other over as well for this sort of stuff.
Yeah, they moved on from just after Luger's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We also, Nixon's gotten a letter from back home. He's getting divorced, and his wife is taking the house, the kid, the dog, and it's not even her dog.
Yeah. He's proper pissed at this, isn't he? Really?
Well, I think quite rightly so.
Look, I've got no reason. I think the lack of whiskey or lack of his tipple as well is really, you can see it etched on his face on this. Throwing his helmet around, you can see Lipton looking around going, okay, that's just the booze or the lack of booze talking there. And even Winters doesn't say anything about it either. I think he's just accepting it and just trying to get on with it and hoping that sort of period will pass.
Yeah.
Nixon,
I don't think. Yeah.
Nixon does give Winters and Spears some important news as well at some point.
Yes. The president is dead.
Yeah, Roosevelt has died.
Yes. For those who don't know, he died of was it polio?
I think it was. He was the 32nd president, wasn't he? Hang on.
He died. Man looks up thing on the internet. Yeah. Yes.
President Roosevelt. Yeah, it was the 32nd president. There you go. In your face. Right. What did he die of?
Yes, but what did he die of?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I don't know. Hang on. Here we go. I'd like to say here we go. I'm just cause of death. Hemorrhage. Let's say yes.
He was in very ill health. You know, he's confined to a wheelchair for most of his later life. I mean, I don't think it would have been the polio itself which killed him, but it would have led to other things. Also, stressful job, a stressful time, and all these sort of things. Yeah, you know. So he died. So new president, Harry S. Truman, I believe. Yeah. I don't mention it in there, but I just happen to know that's the fact.
Yeah. He was president. It's just he was elected 4 times.
The only one ever to have it done so, and also the only one ever to have it done, because after that they enacted the whichever amendment it is, which limits them to 2 terms.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, thank fuck.
Yeah, thank goodness. Oh dear. Yeah, it's not good, mate. It's not good. So yeah, we've lost Roosevelt. That came as a shock to. Well, would it have been a shock? I suppose he was ill for quite some time anyway, wasn't he? So
it was. Well, I don't think they. I think they kept the illness hidden a lot. I don't know how much of a shock it was or anything like that, but regardless, it's something that's been there forever is suddenly gone.
Yeah. So. If you want to see him in action, go watch Pearl Harbor. No, don't watch Pearl Harbor.
Why would you say that? You're history's greatest monster. You'll be recommending people watch U571 next.
Oh, no, what, Bon Jovi? No, I don't think so. Don't think so. Oh, dear. I'm trying to think. On their journey, because our troops are now on their journey, aren't they?
Really? They're moving on to the town we started at, effectively.
Yeah. Lots of nice banter as well.
Having a bit of a sing-song as they go.
Yeah. I love that bit with Tom Hardy. I can't remember. Hang on. His character name is somewhere in this book. I haven't written it down. John A. I can't read my writing. Damn. Anyway, yeah, Tom Hardy's in back of one of the trucks. I think it's Webster. No, it's not Webster.
John A. Yanovec.
That's it, yeah. And he's talking to Luz, and he about what he's reading. He's going, yeah, I'm reading art. Oh, okay, right. What article are you reading?
Yeah, it's about the war. Why are we fighting it?
Really?
Yeah. It says here the Germans are bad.
Really? The Germans are bad? Love it, man. Love it. Yeah, we get that journey. They stop off. They have used one of the houses, as we previously said. There's another no. When they get to the town, that's when Nixon once again goes on another little raid, doesn't he? He's trying to sniff out this whiskey that he's after, and he comes across a lot of other alcohol, which could fuel that fire, but it's that certain brand of whiskey that he's after, isn't it?
Yeah, I because he keeps saying only the best for Mrs. Nixon's boy or something like that. There's a story behind why it has to be that 69. Don't know what that story is, but yeah.
I don't know. But it was interesting because he broke into that house and then he saw the picture of the German officer. I'm assuming it's a German officer. And he ends up smashing that and he picks up the picture of the lady and then she's standing behind him. Not a word is said.
There was a look, though. And if a look could convey daggers, that was it.
Yeah. That's an evil look, isn't it, from her? Definitely. It's not it's not an argument of why are you in my house? She knows exactly why he's in her house. But I think she's expecting looters, and she doesn't get that. I'm sure they came later. I'm sure they came later.
Possibly, quite probably. But yeah, she's... Again, you can tell she's a military household. Mm-hmm. You know, her husband's in the military. And we know he holds himself to a certain standard. And I think she's... Yeah, I think she was... I don't think she was mad. She was disappointed.
And that's the most powerful look, isn't it? When someone is disappointed.
Well, it definitely shamed Nixon.
Yeah into walking out. But then again, I think if he'd found the whiskey, then he would have just taken that and walked off anyway.
Yeah, I think that's definitely
yeah.
Without question.
Which I'd like to come back to her later on, because we do come back to her later on, but I'd just like to ask a question about her later on as well.
Okay.
So, people listening to this, keep that picture in mind for next week or for next episode.
Yes.
So, I don't think there's really much more we can skirt around until we actually get to the camp, isn't there? Spears is told to sort out a perimeter patrols in and around that area and also into the forest as well. And we get a group of our guys walking around where Picante and Luz are having a little conversation about Bastogne and, it reminds me of Bastogne. Yeah.
Yeah, except for it's not snowing.
Yeah. Trees aren't exploding around you. But it's a lot like Bastogne.
But yeah, apart from all those things, it's exactly like it.
But we've got O'Keefe there as well. Mm-hmm. It feels like we have to have the recruit with us or the replacement with us. Just he's almost like the audience being tagged along at some stages.
A little bit, yeah. It's also, I think it's the first time we've really seen Bull in a while, isn't it?
In any quantity, yeah. He's had his episode and he's turned up in a few, but hasn't had many
in the background.
lines.
But it feels like the first time he's been back. So.
Well, Michael Fassbender had quite a huge part in this episode, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
he was in not almost every scene, but he was always there.
Ah yes, plotting Magneto, such as he is.
Yeah, the Nazi hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I wanted that film. Really wanted that film. So, yeah, they come along we don't know what they've come along at first, do we?
Well, they don't know what they've come along. Yeah. Who is it who comes running up? It's
Picante again.
Yeah, he runs back to Winters and he's like, we found something. You need to come and see this. And they're like, well, what is it? And he's like, you need to come and see this.
Yeah.
Because he just doesn't know how to articulate it. There's no words, effectively.
If you've never seen it, how do you describe it?
Well, I mean, straight up, we had to... I don't know for a fact we invented the word to describe it, but it's become synonymous with it, and that's the Holocaust. Mm. That word was pretty much used exclusively, certainly in today's vernacular, to describe this. And if not this, it is now, whenever people talk about stuff like that, it was that word was coined for this,
Right.
for the Holocaust. So, yeah, I mean, this is something so outside of any kind of understanding, any kind of reason. You know, it will make a sane man go mad. They had to come up with a new word for it. And so that was it, Holocaust. And yeah, it is, they turn up and they just don't know what to make of it. They can't understand it. And even us looking back at this with, near enough 80 years of history between us, 80 years of people going back and looking at and analyzing it and explaining it. I mean, we've all grown up with seeing images like this. To imagine to have turned up there without any kind of not even forewarning, any kind of understanding. I mean, we don't even know if they knew this was going on the ground.
That's the thing. There's been no hints leading up to this, is there?
Well, I mean, at the time, the level of anti-Semitism, you know, certainly within the Nazi Party, was known to the Allies. You know, that was something known. I don't know how much they would have known about the actual Holocaust. I suspect they would have known something.
Really?
To an, you know, well, yeah, they crack the Enigma codes at this point of a war. You know, they're probably reading their mail before they are.
I don't know, because the guys on the ground is a need to know basis, isn't it? And it always has been. Always will be.
I'm not saying the guys on the ground know. I'm saying the Allies as a whole.
Right.
You know, the command would know. Maybe not Colonel Sink, but his boss presumably would have known.
Right.
Also, I mean, we do find out that they'd found other camps in the area. The Russians, I mean, again, a lot of the camps were in Poland rather than Germany, so the Russians would have encountered those as they swept through there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this news would have already been trickling down through command, but obviously hasn't reached this level. And it's not like today where, you know, they report on genocide. You know, you have reporters embedded in enemy territory in Syria with ISIS and all that kind of stuff. It's not like that. This would have just come as such a huge shock.
Yeah.
That, I mean, you look at the people there, and I use the word people because they are people, but they do not look human.
No, they don't. No.
They have been dehumanized to the point where, I mean, there's at one point the guy carrying the old man.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tell you if that was actually a person or an animatronic or a puppet or what. And I went back and I looked again because I couldn't tell and I wanted to see. And even now, I don't know. And it's just, yeah, your brain just can't process it. And to imagine being there and to see that. And, I mean, we're being spared the smell.
Yeah, it's all the senses being triggered all at once, isn't it? It's a absolute assault on the senses, and yeah, it's just. Well, it's the deathly quiet as well, which triggered their emotions in the very beginning, because that's why they were creeping around, because they were like, yeah, it's far too quiet.
Yeah.
And so you've got an assault on every single sense walking up there. You got the visual, you got no sound. Because the guys in these camps, they're probably not making any noise because they haven't got the energy to make noise. You probably got a crackle of fire and that is it. You got the smell there. You got visual stimuli. You got absolutely everything. You probably got waves of heat as well coming over you.
The fact that they're not crying, they're not screaming, it's just
another day for them.
It's just too much to process.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can see when they arrive the look of horror on Winters' face, because he's not only trying to process what all of these guys had to process as well, but he's got to keep his shit together.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And what?
And it's on top of that, he doesn't know what to do.
Well, who does?
That's the thing. No one knows what to do. But it's like, I have no frame of reference here. If it was a prisoner of war camp, fine. You can free the prisoners. You get the medical attention. You can take them away. If it was a prison camp for criminals, fine. You can deal with it. You can understand it. But it makes they can't understand what they're seeing. Again, these people, these walking skeletons. This horrible thing. It's again, their mind is trying to jump from thing to thing to try and connect these dots to make sense of it. And you can see some people can't. You see O'Keefe, he shuts down.
Yeah.
Again, the entire gambit of emotions was probably done here, and they'd have gone for everything from abject horror to rage to collapsing in of themselves. And again, we've seen from previous episodes they don't really get PTSD and stuff like they don't understand it properly. But I can almost guarantee every single one of these people would have suffered from it as a result of just going to that camp.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just going to it, not going through it, just turning up and seeing what's been done there.
And this is a small one as well.
Yeah, this is one of the small ones. Which one is this? I can't remember. They do mention it.
Oh, do they?
Well,
we know what
Landsberg.
Yeah,
Landsberg. Yeah, and yeah, it is a small one, but you still get that thing when they look out of there and they just see the scale of it, and it's just shocking. It just seems to me the only word I can really use to describe it, and it's woefully inadequate.
But the way, okay, right, now I'm going to get into like technicals of the filming of this, because the way that they've done it is eerie, it's creepy, and yet it's got so much respect behind it as well. Because we're not just going in there gun ho. Oh look, let's cut the wires, jump in, guys, you're free. No, this is we don't know what we're doing here. We don't know what to do here. It's step by step from everyone, and they cut the first they cut the first chain, open the first gates, and then everything's from just over the back of Winter's shoulder. It's almost eye height from a soldier's point of view. So you're going into this camp with fresh eyes from what the guys that you've been with how they would experience it. You're not just having a helicopter pan over the top like a bloody Lord of the Rings movie showing you the vastness of this camp. This is a on the ground, walking in through the front door type thing. This is what you're greeted with. And you've got walking corpses just coming towards you, and you're like, flipping out. And do you know what the bit that really got me? I'm sure it got everyone as well that's watched this, because I had tears in my eyes when I was watching this, both times when I watched this time round. Mm-hmm. And it was when they get Libgot up to translate with one of the guys there.
When they tell them they have to go back in?
No. God, yeah, that is heartbreaking as well. But
yeah,
it's the bit where they're trying to find out what the camp is about, what is going on. And he's asking him, what happened? And they're saying that the Germans, they tried to burn some of the houses, and then they used the ammunition. They ran out of ammunition, and then they fucked off.
After locking the gates.
Yeah, after locking the
gates.
It's
not enough that they know they'd lost. They spent their time trying to further the evil they had done. It's not about, you know what, we've lost it, fuck it, let's just go, save ourselves. No, we're going to take time to burn as many people as we can, to shoot as many people as we can.
Yeah.
And then when we've run out of ammo, we're going to lock the fucking gate so you starve.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. As bad as Easy Company those might have been painted up until this point, that all gets washed away right here and then. And it shouldn't, but it does, because all of a sudden, in the grand scheme of things, that's fuck all.
Yeah.
It just is. It's just the level of evil displayed here outshadow. I mean, this is why this war has stayed with us in the way it does. Because of this.
Yeah.
Because even today, we can't process it. And that's why so many people doubt it happened. Because they just can't process it. It's just like, how is that even possible? Well, I hate to tell you people, it's possible because they say evil happens when good men say nothing. This is it right there. This is just don't know words really and I'm using lots of words because I don't have the words to say just how utter. I mean, I've never been to one of these. I know Auschwitz is still a memorial. I think this one might be as well. You know, there's a lot of them still there. But what I have been to is at the Imperial War Museum. They used to have a scale model of Auschwitz to show you, and it was in a blackened room. It was just a big scale model, and you had the train tracks and everything there, and it just showed you the scale of it.
Yeah,
and that alone,
wasn't it?
That alone, this was industrial genocide, and I mean, like I said, I can't really use the words to describe how fucking horrible it was. But that on its own in Imperial Museum was enough to like make you bring pause.
There are certain moments of your life where you just realize how big certain things or events are. And maybe that was one of them times where it just came home to roost.
I mean, again, you know, a lot of people might know, you know, I'm a keen photographer. I like to take pictures and stuff like that. If I ever went to one of those places, I would not even take my camera near it. It was no. That is not a place to take pictures. It is a place to be remembered. It is a place to be memorialized, but it is not a place to be taking pictures.
Well, wasn't it recently that there was some students that were doing selfies and handstands and stuff like that around a memorial garden?
Well, when I was in New York last year with Sean and Melissa, and we were at the 9/11 memorial, and it's all people taking selfies and snapping stuff there. I mean, fair play. I took pictures there, but I was respectful and I wasn't taking selfies and stuff like that there. But yeah, it is this very voyeuristic sort of nature we've taken on. We're getting slightly off subject, but it boils down to the fact that this is why we fought. This was why this war had to be fought.
Yeah.
It probably, well, I guarantee it's not why they started the war, but it is why it had to be fought.
Yeah, it was one of them background questions of the Nazis, wasn't it? With ethnic minorities and the Jew question, or the Jewish question. They put it towards the end of the episode. I just want to go back to that bit that just struck with me, where you had Libgott talking to one of the prisoners with Winters, and you got Spears there, you got Fassbender's character there, Christensen, I think it is, and he's going through, okay, right, what type of camp is this, and is it for criminals? And the way that he puts that question to the prisoner, and he just looks at him and goes, no, we're not criminals. These are musicians, these are actors, these are farmers, these are workers, these are Jews. And it's just, I'm getting tingles down my spine just thinking about that now, because Libgott is Jewish as well. And we've been presented with that. And it's just the death tone of that is just, God, if that was not a sucker punch, crying out loud.
The thing that I find in that exchange as well is when he says, you know, Juden, Jewish, it's like, well, of course. Haven't you been here for the past 5 years? It's as if he knew about it. It was obvious. Whereas these guys had no clue. And it was just, I think that just kind of coming to terms with that, it was just,
I just don't know. It's such, I hate to say beautiful representation of it, but it's done so well.
It's a powerful representation of it. I mean, there are films dealing with aspects of the Holocaust. The Schindler's List, what is it? Is it the piano? I can't remember what it is. Is it the piano? The pianist.
Pianist.
The Boy in Striped Pajamas. You know, there's a lot of really, really good, powerful films out there dealing with this. But this was something the filmmakers knew they would have to deal with while telling the story of Easy Company. And they did exceptionally well, in my opinion, doing that.
Yeah. But it doesn't stop at the front gate either, does it?
No. It's not just like they find it and then cut to sometime later. No. They go in, they go through, they look, they see, you know, they open doors and find these people in, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a chicken coop from earlier. You know?
Yes.
You know, that sort of thing.
Shit, man, I didn't even realise that.
But yeah, it did that. It showed...
Thinking about it, there's a lot of balance to this episode as well. There's a lot of balance. You think about the Americans being portrayed as snivelling little thieves at the very beginning, and that's balanced off by the dirty fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
Then you have, I didn't even think about that, the chicken coop at the very beginning, where the Americans are coming in to liberate the chickens, and then you have the concentration camp balanced there as well. You also have Roosevelt and Hitler. Yeah.
No, you're right. I never considered that. Yeah.
It's all balancing.
You know, it all comes together now, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, you have the guys going into these huts as well. And the one that got me as well that saluted, you're like, oh man. Shit. But then they've got to deal with this.
Oh yeah.
They got to deal with this. And Winters gets Sink, or tries to inform Sink he needs him there, needs him on the phone. They need food and medical attention. Food, water, and medical attention.
Yes.
And then they turn up with all the food. They raid the village, and there's a scene with Webster sticking a gun into the baker's face, I think it is. You know, you're telling me you didn't smell it? You're telling me you didn't have any idea? Not saying he did, not saying he didn't. It's highly likely that some people did. It's highly likely that some people didn't. Highly likely that some people didn't want to know as well. So, but then we're getting into the ethics of the actual Holocaust itself, and we're not here to do that. Because
there was no discussion about the ethics. It was wrong.
No. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I think you know, from burying your head in the sand as, you know, what certain people are doing right at the moment, and knowing about what they're doing, and just, okay, yeah, fine. And then agreeing with what's going on and not agreeing with what's going on, and the people in the middle just not wanting to know.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Shit, man. I don't think I've ever dug myself this big a hole. I knew it would happen on this episode.
It's all right, mate. Well, look, this was, we knew from the get-go this was going to be a difficult episode to cover.
This is tough, man. This really
really is. But yeah, it's just, there's lots of touching little moments while these guys are walking through. You got the guy who comes up and hugs one of them, and he just starts crying. You know, you get, again, you've got the guy saluting, guy carrying, I don't know if it's a father or what it was, but it's just, it is horrible. And again, everyone there, you know, Tom Hardy, Akeef, everyone there, you know, is stunned, shocked. Again, it's the thing. I think up until this point, they didn't really hate the Germans. I mean, you know, they tried to kill them, but as I said earlier, they're just kids, they're just doing their job sort of thing. You can understand it because you put yourself in their position. But when you see this, you can't put yourself and understand why they've done this.
No.
And at that point, it's just like, you are monsters. You're not enemy soldiers. You're not me. You know, they're, You're not me from the other side of a mill or something like that. No, you're a monster. And you see that when they go back to the town to get food and everything like this. And you got that cook saying, don't take it, sort of thing. And the guy just pulls out the gun and like literally looks like he's about to blow his head off. And he's going, I'm not a Nazi. And, he going, yeah, tell me you didn't smell that from down the road.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just...
there's a lot of hard-hitting moments in this, aren't there?
Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, and again, they turn up there to give them the food. And as we've already mentioned, they're then told by the surgeon that they got to stop doing that because you can't just give them, with the best of intentions, you can't just give them the food. You have to regulate it. You have to do it slowly because, otherwise they will die.
Yeah, there's ways of dealing with this, aren't there? And
in famines, today in Africa and stuff like that as well, where you can't just turn up with a ton of food. It's and again, it's the most heartbreaking thing is they're told they have to put them back into the camp.
Yeah.
And it's just like Winters is like, I can't do that. And Sink doesn't particularly seem to care, but I don't think he doesn't care. I think, like I said, he knows this isn't the first one they found. This is just something they've got to get done. Do you
reckon he knows that they found others then at that moment? Do you reckon Sink is already on the ball with, okay, we found another one?
I think he's starting to get, I think that information is starting to come through. In fact, he mentioned the Russians found an even bigger one.
Well, that comes later. That's Winters and Nixon talking to each other, saying Winters says that they found one 10 times the size with ovens.
Yeah, I think they're talking about Auschwitz there. But yeah, I think they would have gotten that information from Sink, I would have thought.
Right. And it's down to Libcott to let them know, and you can see the pain in his face.
You'd really think they'd have more German speakers. I'm just saying, translators or something like that. But,
well, maybe they did. Maybe they got shot all the way there. Libcott's the only one that's made it.
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, they got Webster as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're all just trying to, make sense of all of this. You then have after that where they go back to the town and Sink's declared martial law, and every able-bodied person from 14 to 80, is it?
Yep.
Is told they have to come and dig graves. And none of them are happy about it. And it's very hard to feel any sympathy for them because even though, as we've said, they're not Nazis, or at least as far as we know, they're not Nazis. For all we know, they didn't know about this. But it's still very hard to feel sympathy for them when you look at the state of the people they're burying.
Yes. Yeah. And there's people there doing the shoveling, bawling their eyes out. And some of them are probably bawling their eyes out because we didn't know this was happening. And some of them are bawling their eyes out, maybe thinking, shit, I should have said something. Or, but then again, who do you say something to? That's the thing that you're trapped under, isn't it?
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, then we also kind of have another bit with Nixon when he's just kind of walking through and he's seeing all this, and you're getting them loading the bodies up on the carts and just wheeling them around, and he looks in a daze. He looks drunk while he's walking through it, and I don't think he is drunk, but he has that kind of feel. It's again punch drunk almost. He just can't process it.
I thought that was probably the most sober he'd been.
I don't think there's. Yeah, it's almost like it's like he's shell shocked. Like there's a big explosion's just gone off, and all the sounds muffled, like at the beginning of Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
it's like that. That's what it feels like. And yeah, he's looking at these people, and there's people there, and they're crying, but it's just, yeah.
And he sees the lady from the house that he raided earlier on.
Yeah.
Now, I want to come back to her because, I wanted to come back to her because that's a nice little tie-in from earlier on in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Nixon, when he was speaking to Winters and Libcott and the prisoner, there was a hint, or I think Nixon turned around and said, the Germans were told earlier on they got wind of it and maybe they had someone tell them to leave. Do you reckon that was the lady that told her husband, got word to her husband, or knew that they were coming?
I don't think so. And the reason twofold is, firstly, the look on her face. Again, there's no words there, but the look I get is she understands why he is how he is there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the impression. And what we see of her husband, and he's a real character. I'm actually very quickly just going to have just looking ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
Is he? It doesn't actually say. I don't think that general was involved in it.
Right.
It's certainly not given that impression. I think he strikes me as one of those kind of like Rommel sort of guys. He's like, I'm a German, but I'm not a Nazi. I will fight for my country, not the ideology. That's the impression I get from the next episode. I will try and find out exactly who it is to find out if I'm right or not. But I get the impression that she is as horrified as they all are because does not understand it. That being said, though, again, could you really be that close to that camp and not smell it, not know what was going on? Who can say?
Right. Well, I know. Oh God, I'm going to say another thing now. Fucking hell.
Shall I get the JCB out to get you out of this hole?
Get it ready, yeah, because I know friends. Now, I'm just going on the fact of smell, and I know friends that live across the Thames from certain fabric softener creators or dog food makers, and they get the whiff of that sort of stuff. If the wind's blowing in the right direction, they're miles away from that. And yet they still get the whiff of that. And I've smelt, when I've been working, sometimes I work down the road from a certain sugar factory, and you get the smell from that. And that could be miles as well. So them turning around and saying, are you telling me you didn't smell it? They're right in asking that question.
Yeah.
But that's just from personal experience.
Yeah.
By the way, never buy a house near a dog food factory. Never. It's not pleasant.
Wise words indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, we come full circle really towards the end then, don't we?
Yeah, we then come back to where we started, overlooking the cleanup, and we find out what Nixon came up there to tell them in the first place, which is Hitler's dead.
Yeah.
He shot himself. And they say, there's kind of a holy shit, but none of them are particularly excited or shocked to hear it. And then they just say, is the war over? And like, nope. So it's just another day for them.
Okay, from that perspective, do you reckon that, Hitler's dead, but there's a fucking lot of cleanup to do? They've seen the events of the camp and they realise there's more camps. So that there's more work to be done.
Yeah. There's
Hitler.
I don't think there's that. I just think more at this point, their world has been completely turned on its head. I don't think up until that point they realised man was capable of doing that to himself.
Yeah.
Again, war, you shoot the bad guy, that's it. I mean, you even saw the look of horror when they were driving by and they saw those 3 Germans being shot.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
I mean, there was shock. They were looking down at it like going, why would you do this or something like that, whereas compared to the camp, that's nothing.
Well, it was only O'Keefe that was shot, wasn't it? It was only Conte was there and he was looking over it, and it was kind of, they're Germans.
Yeah.
And interestingly, they're the only 3 shots fired in this episode.
Yeah. Other than that, because again, no, it's. I'm pretty sure those are the last 3 shots fired in this series.
Right. Well, that'd be interesting to find out.
Because I don't.
No, I don't think.
But I've just remembered there is. Yeah, there is something in the next one, but. Yeah. But still, my point is, there's no more combat.
Mm. Yeah. Well, we'll get onto that next time out, won't we?
Yes, we will.
But yeah, I totally forgot about that, and we kind of glanced over it. The 300,000 Germans heading towards the other way, and Winter's turning around and saying, they're even marching with pride, and you're like, fucking hell, man. It's dark. It really is dark.
Yeah.
Still marching with pride. So that's it. Is that it? Is that the end of why we fight?
Well, I mean, obviously we get the final card up, which gives us, the information about, what really happened. Easy Company finding the concentration camp, and it gives us some numbers there.
I have the card if you want it.
Oh, I've got it here. It goes, during the following months, Allied forces discovered numerous POW concentration and death camps. These camps were part of the Nazis' attempt to enact a final solution to the Jewish question. And then the next one was, between 1942 and 1945, 5 million ethnic minorities and 6 million Jews were murdered, many of them in the camps.
Flipping hell, man.
And again, numbers like that, your brain cannot process those sort of numbers.
No.
It reminds me of a quote, and I believe it's attributed to Stalin. 1 death is a tragedy, 1 million is a statistic.
Yeah.
And that is what it is here. A better way maybe to look at it is 6 million tragedies, but still, it's our brains aren't really wired to cope with things on this sort of scale.
Mm.
So yeah, it's all I can say is I'm glad we've done that episode, and I'm glad we don't have it still to do.
Yes.
Because yeah, and I'm also glad we don't end on this episode, because it would really be a downer for the series. It's absolutely a story which has to be told, has to be.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we get the next episode on slightly more of an upbeat note.
I think it ebbs and flows in the right order.
Yeah.
You couldn't end on this. You'd have to have something to pick you up a little bit from this. You couldn't just end on this, even though it would end on a powerful note, and it would be remembered for ending on that note. I don't think it would have worked as well.
No, I don't think so either. I think they picked the right time to show this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we know all the lads going up here now, don't we, as well?
Oh, yeah.
We know all the background people in here, so that's it. Why we fight is over. Once again, as you said, glad it's done.
Yes.
That's a difficult one to do. I hope we didn't put our feet in our mouths too many times. Well,
yeah,
you didn't.
It's a difficult. It's a difficult subject to really talk about, and I think it should be a difficult subject to talk about. This shouldn't be easy.
No,
it really shouldn't be. But it's. I would hope that we've at very least managed to convey some of the impetus and the power of this episode, and hopefully, I mean, obviously, if you're listening out there, let us know if you have your own thoughts on this, because yeah, it's stuff like this must be remembered. But it must be treated with respect and reverence. Yeah.
No, absolutely right. Yeah. If you do want to drop us a line and let us know how you feel, then we have rogue2media@gmail.com. You can always email us on that, on your thoughts on this episode, other episodes, the next episode of Points or the whole series as a whole, if you want to. We also have a Facebook group. It's a group. You can also leave comments on there as well. So next episode is Points. That's the 10th episode. We are ending on that. That's it. It's all over, done and dusted once we've done
the last
this.
one. Oh, yes.
We find out who the talking heads have been. We find out what happens to certain members of Easy Company. We are reintroduced to certain people as well, which I won't name. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, I think.
Yeah, just leave it there,
yeah. Look, I'm so looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to the next episode. I definitely remember enjoying the last episode.
Yeah. I remember first time I saw this properly, sat down and really watched this episode, bawled my eyes out at the end. I really did. It was just, oh my God. Jeez. Yeah, so looking forward to it, but kind of not looking forward to it, and it's also coming to the end as well. So this podcast comes off the air then as well.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So what about your final thoughts on Points, or leading up to next week's or next episode at least?
Yeah, like I said, I remember enjoying the last episode. I remember it being pretty much a perfect sign-off, if you will. It gives enough information about the characters that we're not left wondering what happens next to them. Sometimes with things you're like going, oh, I wish we could see this or that. But I don't feel that with this. I'm like, if the story comes to a nice natural end, book ends very nicely with the first episode, and it's like, well, yeah, that's how you do a mini-series, just like that.
Good stuff. Okay, cool. Well, if people are interested in finding you in other places, where can they find you?
Well, the only other place you can find me is with your good self, Grand Prix podcast, where we do this, but about Formula One. To be fair, it's usually a lot lighter. We swear a lot more. The stakes aren't quite the same. So.
There are moments where it does get a bit dark.
This dark? No.
No, not this dark.
No.
You can catch me on the Black Dog Podcast, which is at blackdogpodcast.com. You can also catch me on chunkylab.com as well. Black Dog is a film review podcast. Chunkylab is just a topic-based episode with idiots talking to each other. So please pop along there if you like that sort of stuff. If you like this, let us know. Give us an email or join the Facebook group. There's only one more episode, so let us know what you think of the whole series as a whole. How has your journey been through these last 10 episodes? So just let us know how you feel about it. Will you be rewatching it again? Have we introduced you to this? Maybe this is your first time going through it. Will you watch it again? I don't know. Will you watch Saving Private Ryan? Will you watch it with new eyes as well? And learn new things about this again and again. I swear there's other people that I've seen again and then missed this time round, such as Jamie, what's his name? Apollo in Battlestar.
Yes, Jamie Bamber.
Yeah, I didn't recognise him when I was watching it again this time round. So next time I'm going to catch him, fingers crossed. So let us know in all the normal places. Until Points, which will be next episode, I'm going to say goodbye. So, goodbye.
Ta-ra. Disclaimer here.
Yeah.
This particular episode is dealing with some heavy stuff.
Yes.
Now, we are going to treat this with the reverence and respect it deserves, but we might need to take a couple of breaks in between. as we mentioned, there's some heavy stuff in this episode. So just bear that in mind. If people watching along with us or getting into this one, it is vitally important you do watch this episode. But, maybe pace yourself. Don't watch it after a hard day where things haven't been going right. Maybe do it on a nice sunny summer's day where afterwards you can go for a walk afterwards. Because I think you might need to.
Yeah, well, a nice crisp autumn day as well. And then
yes.
You can disappear off to the pub after.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, too right. With that being said, we will treat it, not tread on eggshells around this sort of subject, because it's dark, it's heavy. We know there's a lot of gravitas with this. But just in case we try to lighten the mood a little bit, shall we say, just in case that falls in there, it's not meant as a derogatory term towards what happened. We have total and utmost respect for what's happened on this. It's our feelings may come up and then want to throw cartoons in our minds and just cleanse it a little bit. So just a warning, just in case one of us slips up and says something a bit stupid. We probably won't. Now I've said that.
I think of all of the episodes, this is probably the one where we're not going to do the stupid stuff. But we just felt it's important, just in case.
Yes.
So yeah. Although at this point there's only one episode left to do afterwards. So if you're going to turn off in disgust at this point, we're not losing too much, I suppose.
No, not really. No. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. It's been a slice.
Wow. Okay. So Why We Fight, episode 9 of Band of Brothers.
Of 10 episodes.
Yeah, we got next week. We find out next week who the talking heads are, which I'm looking forward to.
Oh yes.
We don't know who they are this time round. I'm hedging bets, but there were some new faces on here. I felt
there was either new faces or people we've only maybe seen once or twice before and have, as a result, not really registered.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely. Watching through all these, you're like going, I don't remember you, or I've not heard from you before. So yeah.
And you were saying just before we started recording that it has a feeling of terms nearly over, school's nearly out on this, because we're getting to the end of the war, really, aren't we?
No, we're both at the end of a series and at the end of a war. I think this episode is set April 1945.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just one of those. It's just there's a sense of inevitability. The war's coming to an end. They know they've won at this point, and I mean, they even say, no one's. It war's no longer about fighting. It's about who's getting what, be it individuals, what are they going to get, or be it countries, and carving up the map of Europe and everything. Already at this time in the war, little history lesson here, but already you had distrust from the US and the UK against the Soviets and everything like that. And yeah, it's just one of those sort of, like you said, it's like, it's almost at the end of school. You're going to leave your year, move on to another school or another year sort of thing. There's no more work to be done. There's not really any more fighting to be done. It's just killing time, effectively.
Yeah. It's Hitler killed himself on the 30th of April, 1945. And most of this episode is set 1 month before that. Yes.
Because it kind of does a flashbacky sort of thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Diddle-a-doo, diddle-a-doo.
Yeah, diddle-a-doo. So yeah, I mean, just in terms of overall feel of the episode, that is kind of where that comes from. Are we done talking about talking heads?
Well, they did bring up one or two interesting points that they were all just kids. It was a time, I suppose, where the fighting has died down a little bit. They get to reflect on they're just kids and they're just fighting other kids as well. And in another life, they would be or could be friends.
Oh yeah. And I mean, there's numerous examples actually of people after the war who have sought out people they fought against and become firm friends. Anyone who's familiar with, one of my many obsessions is the battlecruiser HMS Hood. And I know, and I've interviewed numerous sailors who served in Hood, who are now friends with sailors who were under Bismarck.
Oh, okay.
And for those who don't realise, Bismarck is the ship which sank the Hood. Equally so, I've seen and I've met on a couple of occasions bomber pilots like B-17 and Lancaster pilots who are now friends with ME-109 pilots and stuff like that. In fact, recently you watched the Battle of Britain, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And again, prominent aces like Adolf Galland on the German side became really good friends with Douglas Bader on the British side. So, yeah, young men around the world tend to have lots of things in common. Their minds are mostly on one thing: girls.
Yeah.
So, instant common ground right there.
Well, the fairer sex is the most beautiful thing in the world anyway, isn't it? Come on.
The other thing, again, to just bear in mind about why they have this connection is they have a shared experience.
Yes.
It might be from the other side of the trench, as it were, but
a certain
they were
point
there.
Of view.
Exactly. Oh, yes. You're going to come to understand that a lot of these shows depend on your point of view, Elton. In fact, okay, we may be skipping ahead a little bit to the next one, but one of the things, there's a speech in the next episode, and you don't really see much of it. You see a German officer addressing German troops at the end of the war. And I've always wanted to see that film or that show, the German perspective of this time as well. Not from any adoration or, just wanting to see the German side of it. It's just, I want to see it from that point of view as well. I thought that'd be interesting.
Well, that's what was interesting about Das Boot, I felt.
Oh, yeah. Which, if you haven't watched that, people should go and watch that because it's amazing.
It is. It really is, because I'd heard about it but hadn't really dived into it. And then I was kind of forced on the Black Dog podcast. And my God, I was so glad that I was forced.
Yeah.
So glad. I think it's amazing. Absolutely
it's
superb.
So it is the definitive submarine film. I'm sorry, Sean Connery and Red October. Yes. But Das Boot is the best one.
Yeah. You mentioned Hello everyone, welcome back to Band of Brothers podcast. I'm Elton, and as always, I am joined by Andy.
Hello.
How are you, mate? You alright?
I'm alright. It's been so long since we did one of these, you forgot what my name was, didn't you?
I nearly did. I kind of know how you are already. We've already done that stuff in the green room.
Yeah, we've had a chat, and all you losers missed out on it, so
yeah.
Oh well.
That's right, yeah.
Short version, I'm good.
Good stuff. Just for people coming in new on this, why would you be coming in on episode 9? But, people just dip in and dip out. But just in case you don't know, we're not military experts. We haven't been in the military. I've been in the ATC for a couple of years, but that's round about it. So,
hey, me too. There you go.
What, a couple of years, was it?
3.5, 4?
Yeah. Oh, good stuff.
A while.
Yeah. So we're not experts at all. So if we ball stuff up, if we get stuff wrong, if we swear or anything like that, then tough, because that's what we do around here. We don't mean to get stuff wrong, but sometimes we do. So no complaints there.
We should point out we will swear.
We will swear. Well,
it's going to happen.
Is this program rate? Is it 15 or an 18?
If this episode wasn't an 18, it probably should have been.
It should be, yeah, really, yeah. Okay, so
can I also just add an additional